Hello and welcome to the After Effects tutorial. This is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be making ray tracing in After Effects with shapes that we create in Illustrator. First thing is go to Illustrator, create a new composition. I'm going to make it size 1280x720, so the composition will be very similar in After Effects and will avoid problems. Make sure we work in RGB space. Okay, and now I'm gonna write a text. Hello. Okay, select it. I'm gonna make it quite big so I can see it. Make sure it's centered. Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna choose another font. This one looks fine. I'm gonna make it also bigger. Something like that. Okay, make sure it's aligned. Perfect. Now I'm gonna give a color to the font. Okay, make sure I don't have any outline. So far it's this bluish. I'm gonna duplicate the layer. I'm gonna turn off the visibility and lock that layer, and on the new layer that I just created, I'm gonna change the color for the outline. Something like that. I'm gonna increase the size of the stroke. It's very important that we have both elements, the stroke and the text, in different layers. Okay, so now I'm gonna create the shapes by selecting the text in both layers. Okay, select it, right click, create shape. Alright, so now that I have it, I'm gonna go to save this and I will open the file in After Effects. Okay, so once in After Effects, I'm gonna import the file. Very important that I import it as a composition, retain layer sizes. So I open that composition. Okay, I'm gonna create a background, a solid background, composition size, although later on I will increase it. So now what I'm gonna do is create a shapes from the Illustrator layers so I can work with them in After Effects. Okay, there we go. So I will delete the ones from Illustrator, just changing the order. So now I will create a camera, like something wide, like 20, 25, 18. I will create a null object to control that camera. So I will parent the camera to the null object. I will turn the null object and the shapes layer and the background into 3D space by clicking the cube. I make sure that the render by default now is classic 3D. Next thing I do is just place the frame that I want for the camera using the null object. I can rotate it, change the position, whatever I need. Okay. I'm increasing the size of the background. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create two new lights. Okay, so what I'm doing is just placing them and moving the point of interest. I will adjust the intensity and the cone angle of the light. So I create a new light, the second one, and I will do the same thing I did with the first one, adjusting the intensity and the position, also the point of interest. So basically adjusting the light so it looks good through intensity and position and point of interest. So now I'm gonna turn on to Ray Trace 3D. In the options I'm gonna make sure it's low, like 3, and on box, okay. So now we have the problem that the background is over our shapes, so I'm gonna extrude them. Open the properties, geometry option, extrude, give it a value, and remember it's extruding on the set value, positive value, so what I have to do is move the background down. And to move it down, it's not negative, it's positive, once again, moving towards the space. Right now what I'm doing is adjusting the extrusion depth for the shape and the background. The next thing I'm going to be doing is trimming those paths. So I'm going to go to the add option, click on the arrow, trim paths, and I'm going to keyframe the end and the beginning. I'm going to be keyframing the end at second number 2, 100%, and 0 at second 0. Notice that you have the option to change the 3 multiple shapes into individually or simultaneously. Notice the difference. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be animating the other shape. So by default this is how it's going to be looking, but I need to animate it, so I'm going to extrude it a little bit. Nothing changes, and this is because I have to move the position of that layer on the space. So I'm gonna give it a value, in this case of 5, 6 on set. So you see, something like that. On second 3, I put a keyframe, and on second 1, more or less, I'm just gonna make sure it goes behind the background. So this way it's animated and it will rise up while the other animation is happening. It is very basic, very simple, but I'm sure it opens a lot of options for you as a designers and animators. Okay, next thing I'm gonna be adding a bevel to the outline. Notice that sometimes bevels are gonna give you some issues, especially on hard edges. So you may want to adjust the depth. You see in this area, so you have to be very careful with that. So okay, so this is what we have so far. Now I'm gonna make sure that on the material options I have cast shadow on for both layers, the outline and the interior of the world. Next thing I'm gonna be doing is adjusting the light options. I'm gonna go to shadow diffusion and I'm gonna give it a high value, 600 something, will be fine for both lights. And now of course we need to add more intensity to those lights. So now I'm gonna change the ray tracing options to something higher. Notice that this is very time consuming, and if you plan to make final renders, that's when you actually have to go to the ray trace options and have a high value. I put it at 8, but probably have to make it like higher to get a better look, like 12. Notice that the render is taking a lot of time, so okay, so this is how it's looking. It was a very simple concept to explain, you know, creating the shapes in Illustrator, bringing them to After Effects, extrude them and animate them and make the renders in ray trace, but I think it can help many people to bring new ideas. So thanks for watching and hope to see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.